So you're saying your thoughts are empty like Drake's pages? Not yet? Too soon?
We starting with Drake?
You know, if it's too soon, it's fine.
Let's just go ahead. Let's just start with Drake. I wasn't gonna start with music today, but let's start.
I mean, it's not music.
Well, he is music.
Okay, so then we get to him later. Listen, whenever you want the rant, you know what I mean? If it's now, I'm cool. If it's later, I'm cool.
Let's get Drake out the way.
I mean, he got himself out the way as far as I'm concerned.
But let me ask you a question.
Well, we should start by telling the listeners and viewers what the hell we're talking about.
Drake is a poet.
No. Don't do that to the poets. That's why the poets were mad in the first place. Okay? I'll tell y'all, because she is playing around today. And we got to be serious for just a moment. And so, even though it's kind of funny, but Drake put out a poetry book
Called, you know the title?
It's called I'll Name This Podcast Later. No, I'm just kidding. But that's what he tried to do. What's it called?
Titles Ruin Everything.
Right.
A Stream of Consciousness by Kenza Samir and Aubrey Graham.
Oh, and it's a stream of consciousness, all right. A stream of captions for the baddies. That's all the fuck this book is. And so...
Ever heard a Drake song before? You've basically read the book.
and that's one of the reviews?
That's high snobiety said that.
And there it is. So, Drake put out a poetry book, and real poets were up in arms because they've been putting out poetry books for real, and they have probably not been getting the notoriety that Drake got with this book. And I can understand how it's frustrating to be honing your craft and trying really hard to do good things, really working on your craft and trying to make sure you put out the best product possible. And then some famous motherfucker just puts out the same thing you do and goes crazy. And so let's be a little more specific about what the book is. What is the book? The book is one line per page. That's right, one sentence per page. The rest of the page is empty. It doesn't have fly art. It doesn't have graffiti. It doesn't even have pictures of Toronto where he's from. It is a blank page, one line, and the next line. Lots of them are subliminals and just little weird things that you might just put as a caption. One podcaster joked that Drake put out a book of captions because the quote-unquote baddies are always stealing his lines and using them for captions, and so he gave the baddies a book of captions. And that is not what poetry is. Poetry is not a sentence.
Right.
In fact, you would probably have to put all of the pages together to get one poem. Because it is literally one line for one page. And some of them correlate. So there's a couple where what's on the left side correlates to the sentence on the right side. I heard, I'm paraphrasing here, but the left side said on one part of the book, you love getting dressed up and going out. And the next page said, you don't really know yourself that well.
Okay.
And so I just would like to say that.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
You found it?
Wait. Those guys are so burnt out is on the left side, and why is this like this? Sorry. Those guys are so burnt out. And then the other side says, we can smell it from here.
And there it is.
This one doesn't have anything on the left side, but on the right side it says, having trouble figuring out if you're a devil missing a horn or a unicorn. The next one says, if jumping to conclusions was an Olympic sport, on the left side. And on the right side it says, you wouldn't have just won my heart, you would have won gold.
All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah. We ready to talk about Drake's retirement, or should I hold off?
Well, I'm going to go on
I
already said I'm going to go on a rant. And so if you want to get your shit off first, by all means, please do so. Because I'm going to do my thing.
Drake is quiet quitting, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
Please elaborate.
I'm tired of it. What is this?
It's
if you're gonna
it's
do
the
it,
candles.
if you're gonna do it, do it. Honestly, the candles, smart. You make girl records, girls love candles, smart. I may not have wanted one, but I'm sure there was a shit ton of people who did want one.
You don't think girls like poetry?
That's not. What is this? You know how irritating it is to read one line on a page? I like to read. I read books. So this offends me. Okay.
You don't think you said girls like candles. So I'm asking.
I think girls like poetry. I think people like poetry. I think this is not that. I agree with the poets, the people who are actual poets and put a lot of time and effort into their poetry. I'm tired of Drake phoning it in. This feels like he phoned this in. If you were going to do it, just do it. What is this for? Is this maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe this is supposed to be like, you know, when you go to Urban Outfitters and you go to the book section. When you go to Urban Outfitters, I've mentioned them before.
I know that's your spot. They need to sponsor your pod.
Because it's such an eclectic store. So you go to Urban Outfitters, right? And there's a book section where you could get like recipe books, coffee table books, things that are very eclectic, right? Like you could get anything from like a weed recipe book to, I don't know, somebody's memoir, some rapper or singer or whatever, you know? This feels very much like something like that. This feels very much like, you know those books, have you ever seen those books? I actually have one. It's a suggestion book. It's just a book filled with suggestions, right? So it's not really a book you read. It's a book you put on the coffee table, and then maybe you're making tea for someone and they're sitting there, you have company, and they open the book and they're like, ha ha ha, this is actually kind of cute. This feels more like a coffee table book situation. So maybe that's what he's trying to do. Maybe this is not actually meant to be thoughtful at all. Maybe it's just meant to be like cute and fun and whimsical. I don't know. But this is weird. And honestly, this is the only thing I could think. Like, I could see it being like a hardcover, really slim book that sits on the table and no one actually reads because it's nonsensical to begin with. But it's just there for like aesthetic purposes. Maybe that's what this is. That's fine. If that was the intention, cool. But the fact that he got upset, that people were upset that this is not real poetry, leads me to believe that he thinks that this is something meaningful that he's putting out. And I'm tired of Drake. I know you're supposed to go on a rant, and I'm gonna let you have your moment. But I'm tired of Drake. I'm tired of Drake getting mad at people for critiquing his own bullshit. You're an artist. Your work will be critiqued. Whether it's your singing or your rapping or your poetry or whatever the fuck else you do, Drake, people are going to critique it. Why? Because art is meant to be critiqued. You don't get to get mad because you didn't like what people said about a random book of words. It's hardly a poetry book.
It's not a poetry book.
And about what I said about Drake retiring, I feel like Drake is fucking with us a little bit. I feel like just announce it. Just announce it. Just say you're done. Just say you're finished. Say you don't feel like doing it anymore, and then go do that. I know you reminded me before the pod that he put out a verse recently. I don't care. I'm tired of Drake. I'm truly tired of Drake, and I can go back to the old music at this point, but like I'm not looking for anything new from Drake at this point. I'm sure I'll get a lot of shit for this, but
maybe not.
What has Drake done? I know people liked the dance album. That's not really a genre that I play in a whole lot, so I can only say so much about that. But Drake, what's happening here? What are we doing here? Is this like his? You know how Rihanna stopped making albums, but Rihanna is still very much like doing things and is out there and still very relevant to our time. Maybe Drake is trying to find his footing. I'm trying to shoot him bail. Like maybe he's trying to figure out what he likes to do outside of rapping / singing or whatever we call that.
Right.
I'm tired of it. Like, I don't know. And maybe, listen, I've said this before on the pod. Maybe it's just that I've outgrown Drake.
Wait, you were saying, you know how Rihanna is retired but still do other stuff?
Right. I feel like Drake is trying to figure out who he is outside of the music.
Gotcha.
Or maybe even inside of the music in some ways. And I just don't want to go on this journey with him. But I think the reason it upsets me and annoys me and I ask, like, what's going on? Like, do you want to retire? Is because, like, I want rappity rap Drake.
You ain't getting them.
Oh, I know. Which is why I'm fed up. But, you know, that's the way I feel. I understand why people are upset about this. And like I said, if it comes out and it's a coffee table book, cool. I would even probably buy it because it's funny. But something tells me he doesn't see it that way. And that is why, like, Drake, have your book of suggestions. That's fine. But don't try to make us think that, what is it people say? Don't piss on me and try to make me think it's raining.
That is the same. Don't piss on me and call it rain.
Yeah, like, let's stop acting like this is like this profound thing you did. 'Cause it's not. It's not. It's just not. Maybe if you would have sat down and created actual poems, I could have been like, oh, I see that, 'cause he's a rapper. You know, he writes music. Some people would say he doesn't, but he writes music. So it's not weird that he would write poetry. That's probably the closest thing to what he does that he's done in a while.
Right.
But, and I think there's nothing wrong with building a brand. I don't think there's anything wrong with making candles. I don't think there's anything wrong with publishing books. I just want to be clear about that. Do I want rapper Drake to come find us wherever he's living? Yes. But I also understand that when you're building a brand, that means there's a lot of different branches on the tree. And that's perfectly fine. But don't bullshit us either. Don't try to make us think that this is more important than it is. And you know, I'm over here being an asshole. And then we're going to find out that this is dedicated to, like, somebody who passed on or something like that. And I'm going to just be like, oh shit, well, my bad.
I wouldn't apologize anyway. Because that don't got shit to do with it. A bunch of one-liners.
I understand. But I'm just saying, like, maybe there's a rhyme or reason that I am not privy to. And I'm willing to have that conversation if it comes up. But I want you to have the floor.
But what did he say to the fans?
Let me see if it's here. I don't know if it's here.
Oh, I thought you had it queued up. I'm sorry.
Oh, by the way, this was also an album announcement.
I thought we were not getting an album and that's why we got the book.
No, this is an album announcement.
Wait a minute. Now I'm even more confused.
Okay, so this says, well, new Drake is on the way. I love the way whoever writes this, they're hilarious. The news is from High Snobiety. Remember I told y'all credible sources? I don't know if they're a credible source, but we're going to use them. The news came unexpectedly too, as the musician quietly announced the forthcoming project while promoting his new poetry book titled Ruin Everything. The Bright Blue book is going on sale for $19.95. home to the musician's other merch, like his Elder Statesman collab. Okay, but yeah, he announced that he is releasing an album alongside the book, and the album will be called For All the Dogs. So, oh, and there's merch for it already.
For the book?
I guess for the album, because he has on this hoodie with these puppies, and underneath it says "Hard Feelings, Harder Dick." I did not expect us to spend this much time on Drake. Oh, and what he said was, I made an album to go with the book. They say they miss the old Drake. Girl, don't tempt me for all the dogs. So maybe I'll get what I want. Maybe I'll get what I want.
Does it say when this album is coming out?
No, but the book.
It's out already.
The book is out?
Yeah, that's why all the poets responded angry.
I thought it was just an announcement that it was coming. Yeah, I don't know when it's coming. This doesn't say. Anyway, yeah, it looks more like a coffee table book type of thing. That's what it looks like to me. But then stop taking yourself so seriously when people have something to say. People are always going to. You're Drake. Who's not going to have something to say?
Well, I have something to say.
Oh, we know.
And now that I know there's music coming, I may not be able to go on my full rant. Because that's part of what I was going to say. But if there's an album coming, maybe I have to put part of this in my pocket.
I agree. I feel like if I knew.
Until that album comes out. But this is what I will say.
A winner is hard.
This is what I will say. Drake announced an album was coming about a year and change ago. And when the album came out, it was not a rap album. Which is interesting because I told y'all when that album came out, Drake already been playing with y'all because he already don't put out rap albums. And so now, almost a year later, after the dance album, where he didn't rap at all, he puts out a poetry book where there's no poems at all. Drake doesn't give a fuck about any of you. You expected a rap album? Surprise. You got a dance album. You expected a poetry book? Surprise. You get a book of captions. All Drake is doing today is using his celebrity and his name to sell y'all bullshit. He's literally selling you emptiness at this point. I won't be surprised if this nigga does some Dave Chappelle skit shit and the album is tracks with nothing. Just static in the background. He doesn't care. All he's doing is using the popularity he has to monetize anything. Because were the candles ever really sold? I thought he just shipped them to a few friends or whatever.
I think the candles were available for purchase back in 2020. I don't know at this point.
Listen, whatever. The point is, Drake doesn't care. He's simply putting his name on things. Once he gives it a stamp of approval and puts his name on it, he knows y'all are going to go spend all of your hard-earned dollars. Mm-hmm. He does not give a fuck if the candle smells good, if y'all like the album, or if you really appreciate the captions. Because this is not a book of poetry. One line on one page is a joke. It should be put out as a joke book, not a book of poetry. because it's a fucking joke. That's what it is. And that's what Drake has been doing to you fans for quite some time. And I have said for the longest, I don't consider myself a Drake fan. 1, he don't sing and tells y'all he sings. 2, he only raps when he really wants to. And 3, we are now at the point where he's just doing whatever bullshit he wants and putting his name on it so he can take y'all money.
Right.
I don't understand why y'all continue to support this tomfoolery. Because that's all it is nonsense and a joke.
Yeah. Agreed.
And that's it for me. That's what I think about this book. Oh, last thing.
Yeah.
Yo, Drake, you don't sing. You can't be mad at the singers who can really sing critiquing you when you fake sing. Now, you can't put out a fake poetry book and be mad at real poets who've been busting their ass because you outsold the whole category with your bullshit. You can't be mad at that.
Right.
I mean, come on. Like, that's like Jay-Z putting out a cookbook. Of course the chefs are going to be mad. Oh man, all Jay-Z would say, put some vegetables in an egg and that's an omelet. Next page. Of course chefs would be upset. Because a Jay-Z book would probably outsell everyone at this point. So no, you can't be mad. Stop it.
You going to his show in a couple weeks?
Who?
He's going to be at the Barclays Center.
Who?
Drake.
I will not be at the Drake
On
show.
July 17th.
Never been
Look
to a
at
Drake
this.
show. Probably never will be at a Drake show.
Oh, I've been to a Drake concert.
Oh yeah, you had
Summer
fun.
16.
Oh well, there you go.
Which, if there was a year to go,
That was probably it.
that was... Yo, when he came on the stage and said he was looking for revenge, I was with him. I said, this is great. This is lovely. It was him and Future, but it was mostly him. And it was great. It was a great show. And he had bars back in 2016.
He still has bars. Whenever he puts a time and a place in the title,
Right, but
that's when you get
it can't
Drake bars.
just be that. Well, I was telling you pre-pod, I was like, well, can we get like a London at 2 p.m. or something?
Nah, he
I
just
don't
gave
know.
y'all a verse a couple weeks ago on the Afro
Can
beat.
we get, I don't know, can we get like Barcelona at 12 o'clock? Like what do we need to do, Drake? Where do we need to send you? And what time should we send you there so you could write some shit that I want to hear?
I don't know. But hey, he's got a new album coming. Maybe you'll hear that on the new album.
I guess I'll listen to it for the purposes of this podcast. But outside of that, I don't really have any interest anymore. Like, I'm not running to it. I don't. My thing is, if you don't care, I don't care.
You know what I did for the purposes of this pod?
What?
I watched the BET Awards.
You did do that.